Imagine waking up one morning, just like any other day, but feeling a tightness in your chest, as if the whole world owed you something. That sense of being wronged or denied justice is more common than you might think. But pause for a second and realize this. The world doesn't owe you anything. And that truth, instead of being suffocating, can actually be liberating. Because when we understand we're not victims of some unfair fate, we gain the power to direct our energy where it truly matters, inside ourselves. Let me tell you a quick story. Lucas was great at his job, but he was always frustrated because other people seemed to get more recognition, faster promotions, easier praise. He thought life was against him. Then, at a talk on Stoicism, he heard someone say that no one owes anyone anything, and that the constant, "Why is this happening to me?" was just a mental trap, a burden he was carrying himself. That's when he woke up to the idea of owning his own journey, without waiting for applause from the outside. Seeing life as a series of rewards and punishments is human, but it's also limiting. This mindset traps us in a cycle of psychological revenge. If life doesn't treat me well, I'll treat life like an enemy. And that's when we start wasting our attention being victims instead of taking the lead. Instead of feeding complaints, we can choose to focus on what we actually can change: our choices, actions, and attitudes. Now you might be wondering, okay, but how does this help me? The answer is simple: focus. When we let go of the belief that we automatically deserve things, we free up energy to grow. We start seeing opportunities instead of injustices. And that new perspective is the fuel for any real transformation, whether it's learning something new, forgiving someone, or simply feeling lighter at the end of the day. Think of Stoicism as a map to navigate life's inevitable chaos. There's no foolproof manual to protect us from the unexpected. Reality checks always come. But what truly changes the game is how we respond to those bumps in the road. You can choose to shut down and complain, or open up space to grow and learn. That choice is the real turning point, the moment we stop being just bags of automatic reactions. And here's the thing. Throughout this video, you'll discover practical tools, rooted in psychology, philosophy, and sociology, to let go of egocentrism and embrace life's unpredictability with calm. You'll see why separating what you can and can't control is more freeing than frustrating. And with each example and reflection, you'll start to see how you're truly taking the wheel of your own life. We keep moving forward, recognizing that life is, by nature, untamable and chaotic. Think of a summer storm. You might see clouds gathering on the horizon, but you can't predict the hurricane that comes with it. Psychologically, our brains love patterns and crave security, but existence doesn't come with guarantees. Understanding this unpredictability is the first step to letting go of the steering wheel, yet still driving with confidence. When something goes wrong, a project fails, a relationship sours, the economy tanks, our automatic reaction is to look for someone to blame. The system, the boss, the partner. Stoicism teaches us that the world isn't the problem. How we react to it is. From a sociological angle, this changes how we relate to groups and institutions. Instead of demanding external change, we start by looking at our own mindset before we protest. Have you ever noticed how unmet expectations are a major source of frustration? Life isn't a movie script with a guaranteed happy ending. No one promised you a red carpet from birth. When we accept difficulties as part of the story, we make room for gratitude. That simple feeling of, okay, this happened, so what can I learn from it? And about control. Trying to control everything is like trying to grab a cloud. In behavioral psychology, we know a lot of our suffering comes from trying to tame what's untamable. What's actually within our power, our thoughts, choices, and actions, is where we can truly make a difference. Separating what I can control from what I can't cuts down anxiety and boosts our effectiveness day to day. Of course, planning is part of the game. Having goals, routines, and strategies is vital for growth. But clinging too tightly to the plan can blind us to unexpected opportunities. Philosophically, Stoicism reminds us that we don't control the wind, we only adjust the sails. If the script changes, revisit your goals without guilt and keep going. Now, here's something to think about. How many times have you missed out on a gift, a moment, an idea, a person, because you were stuck on a rigid plan? Instead of fighting the flow, why not learn to ride it? This mindset not only brings peace of mind, but also builds resilience and creativity, essential skills for facing today's challenges. Now let's dive into an even more practical, and maybe the most life-changing part: self-control and taking responsibility for your own reactions. Think about it. How many times have you blown up in anger or made snap decisions just because you were overwhelmed by emotion? Exactly. Stoicism pokes right at that wound, saying, "You're not just a sack of flesh ruled by impulses. You're a rational being, capable of pausing and choosing." In psychology, we call this the space between stimulus and response. It's that precious millisecond between what happens and what you decide to do. That's where your freedom lives. Viktor Frankl, a philosopher and Holocaust survivor, said it was the one thing they could never take from him: how he chose to respond to the horrors around him. Think about the power of that. If he could practice this in a living hell, imagine us facing far less extreme situations. See how this ties into how we interpret events. It's not traffic that ruins your day, but the meaning you give it. This proves the universe hates me. Nothing ever works out for me. It's not your coworker's dirty look that defines your week, but what you decide it means. Philosophically, it's the difference between facts and judgments. The fact is neutral. The judgment, that's all you. And the interesting thing is, this shift in perspective not only cuts down your stress, it changes how others see you. In sociology, we see that people with emotional self-control are often viewed as trustworthy, natural leaders, someone you can count on in a crisis. And who doesn't want to be that person? Deep down, we all want respect, not for who yells the loudest, but for who keeps a cool head when the world's on fire. That brings us to a tricky point: anger. Stoicism sees anger as poison. First it poisons you, then it spills out and poisons your relationships. Think about how many regrets you carry just because you let fury take over. It's like every outburst chips away at your self-control. And for what? Anger rarely solves the problem. It usually just makes it bigger. So what's the takeaway? That peace of mind isn't about having zero external problems. It's about mastering your internal reactions. It's like having a calm lake inside, even when the wind outside is howling. And here's how relevant that is today. In a hyper-connected world full of triggers and provocations, social media, opinions, comparisons, having this kind of self-control is almost a superpower. We've come to a final point, but by no means a less important one: the real meaning of happiness and life. Stoicism offers a kind of counterintuitive idea. It says chasing happiness directly is like trying to catch a butterfly. The more you run after it, the more it slips away. Instead, the invitation is to focus on something much deeper: living with integrity, aligned with your values, no matter what's happening outside. And here's what's interesting. Modern positive psychology backs this up. Studies show that people who have a bigger purpose and live out values like honesty, courage, and compassion experience more well-being than those obsessed only with pleasure or material success. Happiness, then, shows up as a natural byproduct of a well-lived life, not as a standalone goal. This is where the famous Stoic concept of memento mori comes in. Remember death. Not to be morbid or sad, but to give life weight and color. Knowing time is limited makes us value every conversation, every gesture, every chance we get. In the rush of everyday life, we forget it could all end in a snap. And then we live like we're immortal, putting off what really matters for someday. But someday might never come. So try bringing that reminder into the present. What if today was your last day? Would you be proud of how you spent your time? Would you be caught up in petty fights, holding grudges, or would you focus more on loving and enjoying the people around you? This kind of reflection puts every little problem into perspective and helps us drop the silly weights we carry. Finally, the big takeaway from all of this philosophy is that life is a training ground. Every challenge, every bit of chaos, every frustration is like a workout that strengthens your mind and character. A Stoic doesn't aim for a life without struggles. They know that's impossible. They aim to be whole, someone who responds to the world with wisdom, not just raw emotion. And ironically, that's what brings that quiet, steady kind of happiness that doesn't depend on the waves outside. So, if there's one thing to carry with you from all this, it's this. Instead of chasing happiness, chase being a better person. More centered, more intentional, more aware. The rest follows. And when it does, you'll actually be ready to savor it. Because in the end, it's not the world that has to change for you to have peace. It's you who needs to learn how to navigate the world exactly as it is.